How you doing tonight? This is Pastor Bob at Sunrise Community Church. I trust you're staying safe and warm on this cold New Hampshire evening. Listen, this week with church, we're going to be talking and continuing our messages on encounters with Jesus. This week we'll be talking about John chapter 3 and John chapter 4, about two encounters Jesus has with two entirely different people. One, a religious insider who's got it all together. He's a member of the Sanhedrin. He is culturally and religious. He is a leader of society. How Jesus deals with him. And then a social outsider in John chapter 4, the lady at the well, who is actually bankrupt spiritually. She is a moral failure. She is a cultural failure. She's a religious failure. At first, you would think these two have nothing in common with one another. However, as we look into that, we'll see that there is a lot they have in common. And if they have something in common, I would suggest that each one of us have something in common with them as well. How Jesus reached out and touched these two people, how he ministered to these two people, what he did. You know, we're living today in what I would consider to be a broken society. I would consider this to be a time that we're living in. I would call this an angry time, because it seems like no matter where you go, whether it's to the grocery store or to City Hall or to Washington, D.C., people are angry with one another. It doesn't matter how you communicate with people. It doesn't matter if you're communicating with them through text message, through emails, by Twitter, or on Facebook, if you're watching something on Facebook, or even if you're watching some kind of TV show. It seems like everything that I see in America today is sort of ripe with this anger and this discontent, this disdain from people. It seems like the time that we're living in is a time when people are just trying to ward off another enemy that they see coming. We look at politics, that is full of antagonism, full of controversy, and we see that and we wonder, what are we going to do? And a lot of us are just trying to hold our heads down and get through life as good as we can, causing as little of trouble as we possibly could. But you know what? Then I look at the church and I wonder, is the church just like that? Is that what the church is? Are we good at making enemies? Is that what we've done as the church? Is that what's going on? I mean, I see on different news feeds, I see Christians arguing with other Christians about specific beliefs and different things that they believe, and the world is watching on. I wonder what has happened to us. Why aren't Christians known as the people of love and reconciliation, especially in this very dramatic time in our history? What is going on, and how do we get out of this mess? How do we become those people that Jesus intended us to be, the people of reconciliation, the people of love to this nation? How do we correct some of the problems that we see in our world today? How do we become the, I think this goes all the way back to the 1950s. I remember in the 1950s, we thought everybody should go to church. Well, if everybody was supposed to go to church, then we just argued over which church to go to. Whether you want to go to the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church or the Pentecostal Church, and every one of us had our distinctions, and we always thought that we were better than everyone else. That's where this all comes from. And we didn't realize, if you were part of that majority church, you didn't even realize what you were doing to the culture around you and the minorities that lived in your time, because you were part of the majority. You just lived there. You just enjoyed everything. Everything was good, and people were hurting. We didn't even realize what we were doing in our society and how broken our society is, because everything was so subtle. It was the end of World War II, and everybody just thought that, the church played a big part in a lot of towns, especially where I grew up down south. If there was a city decision or a decision with local government, they would actually ask the pastor of the local church what his opinion was. That doesn't happen anymore. Christianity has changed. Things have changed. And the church has not changed with it. And we have not been aware of some of the things that I believe that we've done to cause some of this brokenness and this fracture that I see in our society today. You know, let me just tell you a little easy story here. You know, they tell me that if you take a frog and you put him up in a warm kitchen window, he'll just sit there in that window and be warm, not realizing anything is going wrong until he is so warm and so dry he's actually cooked himself to death, because it happens so subtly. And so you throw that frog in a pot of boiling water and he'll jump out of it. I think that's what's happened in Christianity and in our society. Listen, we're talking about these encounters with Jesus because we want you to see how Jesus dealt with certain people and how there's a commonality between those people that seem to be so different, and how there's a commonality between us, and how we can be a people of reconciliation, a people of love, not just to other Christians, but everyone we come in contact with, people that are going to have different views than we are, people that are going to have different lifestyles than we have. That's okay. We want to learn how to love them and reconcile ourselves with them. Hey, this is Pastor Bob. Come in on Sunday and see the rest of it. If you're around, you could come in person. We take care of all the social protocol. We wear a mask. Everything's good. If you're not, you're still apprehensive about getting out, we'll be on Facebook Live Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and we'll be talking about Nicodemus and the lady at the well, what they have in common, what Jesus meant when he told the lady at the well, what you need now is the water that I give that flows up from inside of you. What Jesus meant with the now loaded phrase that we hear when he tells the Nicodemus that he needs to be born again. Boy, that's a now loaded phrase. We'll talk about it on Sunday. I promise you, it doesn't mean what you think it does. God bless you. Have a great night. Stay warm. God bless you.